Hi, this is Scott Ney, and welcome to the Mallet session where I'm going to be discussing the 2008 NMMEA Mallet etude. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the etude itself, and then I'm going to be addressing some specific topics that deal just with performing on this particular instrument. First is setup of the instrument, your posture, and your setup to the instrument. Make sure the height of the instrument is at a height where it's very natural, so that as you raise your arms, you walk up to the instrument and the instrument is there. You're not having to lift, you're not having to go way down to the instrument. Your body and position to the instrument is such that you're not having to pull your arms back if you're standing too close. You're not standing too far to where you're reaching out. You just want to have it at a nice height. You bring your arms up at your side and it's right there. Okay? So that's the first thing. The height of the instrument is very important. Next thing I want to address is where you strike the bar. It's something that we're always dealing with and we're always practicing. And it's very important that you are consistent with where you strike the bar so that you're producing a consistent sound up and down the instrument. I typically play on the end of the bars up on the accidentals, and I play just off center on the naturals, and this allows me to get up and down the instrument pretty quick. I guess the downside to that, if there's a downside, is that your target area is very small, so you really have to practice playing right on the edge of the bar. When I was younger, I used to practice all the time, really trying to feel the edge of the bar, the corner of that bar, not playing up on the top, but really right out on the edge. And I knew that if I could feel that corner, I knew that I was getting out far enough. So you can do something like a chromatic scale, and you can go up and down an octave or two and really shoot for the very edge of that bar. If you start going in too far, you're going to get a sound like this. You can hear how the tone up here went away because I was striking on top of the node where the string goes through. And even if I'm striking maybe halfway between the very edge of the bar and the nodal point, I'm still getting a muted sound, so I'm really shooting for the very edge. On the naturals, I'm shooting for an area that's about the same distance from the node as I played up here, but on the inside of the node down here in the naturals. So it's about 2 inches up here off the node, and it's about 2 inches from here. On the natural keys, it's approximately halfway between the middle of the bar and the nodal point. Okay, so by doing that, I'm getting a consistent sound up and down the keyboard. If you're not going to play on the edge, that's fine. If you want to play in the center of the bar, that's fine, and then practice that. Playing in the center of the bar, again, up chromatically, so I'm shooting for the center here, and I'm shooting for the center here. Just really paying attention that you're being consistent up and down the instrument. If you do that and you practice that a lot, your sound is going to become very consistent up and down the instrument. So that's the first thing, where to strike the bar. Once you know where to strike the bar, what do I practice? What I would recommend for this particular etude is a couple of scales, your chromatic scale and your B-flat major scale, since the etude is in B-flat. I have my students play all their scales a couple of ways, well, several ways, but in the beginning I give them a couple of ways that they have to do it. The first is going up a fifth, coming back down, going up to the ninth, coming to the fifth, up to the ninth, back down. So they play essentially the bottom half of the one octave, they play the top half of the octave, and then they go up 2 octaves. So it sounds something like this. So you're covering that bottom fifth, you're covering the top fifth of the octave, and then you're going up and down. So that's a great scale just to practice. Do that in B-flat major, you can do that in all your scales, but for this particular etude you definitely want to be comfortable playing in B-flat. The chromatic scale is also very important, so I would run that up and down the instrument. You can go far farther up if you want and back down, starting both of those scales with the right hand and start it with the left hand. Okay? Another way that you can run through your scales is going up in a sequence of 4 notes. So you would play 1, 2, 3, 4, then you would come down to the second degree of the scale, the C, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would continue that up the keyboard and then down. And that sounds something like this. You can continue that up 2 octaves, however much you want. So that's another great way to practice your scale. Once you're comfortable getting up and down the scale in 1 octave and 2 octaves, then you can take some of the rhythms from the etude. There are 3 basic rhythms from this etude. We have a grouping of 4/16 notes, we have a grouping of eighth notes into a triplet, and we have a dotted 8/16 pattern. So you can take those 3 rhythms and you can lay them on top of the scale. And put on your metronome. And first we can do, certainly start with eighth notes or something slow so that you're just getting up and down the keyboard. Once you can do that, put the metronome on at a tempo where you can play 16th notes. So I would first play 16th notes. Maybe up 2 octaves. And you can, focus on the top octave and the bottom octave and getting up and down is great. You can take the triplet pattern and you can do the same thing. Starting with both the right and the left hand. And then also the dotted 8/16 pattern. You can go up, again, 2 octaves just like the others. So take those 3 basic rhythms and lay them on top of the scale. Also laying them on top of the chromatic scale is a great thing. There's the triplet, 16th note. And then you can play the dotted 8/16, which is really good on your chromatic scale because there are a lot of times in the etude where you're doing half steps with this particular rhythm. Once you get comfortable with that, you can start combining those 3 rhythms up and down the keyboard within the scale. So you can go from rhythm to rhythm, something like so. Or maybe the 16ths and the dotted 8, or the dotted 8/16 pattern. Or all 3, whatever combination. Just so that you start playing through the key of B flat major with those rhythms, and if you do that, when you go to the etude, you're already going to have those rhythms in your ear, and you're going to be comfortable getting around the keyboard. The other technical thing is probably the most difficult thing in the etude are the grace notes. And I would take, again, those 3 rhythms, and I would put grace notes on the beginning of them. And I would practice those with some different stickings. For example, I might take the 16th note pattern and put a grace note on the beginning of it. Or the dotted 8/16. You could put on the triplet, you can go on and on. So just start practicing and putting the grace note in there. You could put it in there, and you could do some scales doing it that way. So there are a lot of things that you could do. I think the most important thing is don't just play the etude. Get comfortable on the instrument itself, playing scales, doing rhythms, put your metronome on. Then once you go to the etude, you're not trying to learn the etude and learn how to play this instrument. So that's what I would recommend, and I hope that helps a lot, and good luck.